Eleanor and Jordan married 4 years ago. At first, they lived in a small studio apartment on the outskirts of the city. A couple years ago, they moved into an apartment. Jordan's parents moved to the countryside in search of a quieter life, leaving the family property to their son. Eleanor, working shifts and weekends, preferred an active lifestyle, going to the gym or going out with friends, rather than staying at home. Their life together was smooth and quiet, until one incident changed everything. One morning, the couple went outside to go to work together, but found their way blocked by a new car. At least they left a license plate number, Jordan muttered, worried he was running late. He quickly called the number on the windshield. 5 minutes later, a young man hurriedly emerged from the entryway. Clearly still a student, he pulled the car away and approached the couple. "I apologize for such an unexpected acquaintance. I just moved here yesterday. My name is Dominic," he explained. Jordan, who was itching to leave, introduced himself and Eleanor before getting into the car. Eleanor's gaze lingered on Dominic for a moment longer, and he smiled, realizing that their interaction wasn't over yet. Several months had passed since that unexpected encounter. Surprisingly, my wife began to stay home more often on weekends. She reasoned that she was tired at work and preferred to relax and watch movies in the comfort of our home. So when Jordan finished his shift, his wife was always there for him. One day, Jordan was faced with the fact that the power went out at work in the middle of the day. There was nothing to do and everyone was sent home. He arrived home much earlier than usual, about 4 hours earlier than the scheduled time. When he entered the apartment, his wife ran into the hallway with widened eyes. She was stunned by his early arrival and immediately started asking if anything was wrong. As Jordan explained the reason for his shortened workday, Eleanor visibly tensed. Just a few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Although her husband had not yet emerged from the hallway, he quickly opened the door. Standing before him was Dominic, their neighbor, whose once broad smile had turned to one of surprise. A tinge of uncertainty was readable on Dominic's face. "What can I do for you?" inquired Jordan. I wanted to." Dominic stuttered, his confusion evident. Before Dominic could finish his sentence, Eleanor intervened. "Are you out of flour again? I'll get some right away." She hurried to the kitchen, took a glass of flour and held it out to Dominic, expressing her gratitude for his visit. Dominic pulled his head awkwardly into his shoulders and retired to his room. Jordan inquired with a sarcastic tone, "Is he always shopping here for groceries again?" "Come on, no, of course not," his wife quickly replied, trying to smooth out the sharp edges of the story with a smile. She continued, "One day I was baking a charlotte and the aroma spread throughout the entryway. When I went outside to take out the trash, I ran into Dominic on the stairs and he asked for the recipe. Apparently, the second time he had a problem. She then quickly changed the subject by asking when her husband would finally fix the nightstand door in the living room. This move prevented her husband from asking any follow-up questions about the neighbor, which made the situation even more absurd. Who could imagine a young man staying home to bake? Though it seemed unlikely that their neighbor would do such a thing when he could easily drive to the bakery. The young student no longer figured in the couple's lives or appeared on the horizon at all. Jordan completely forgot about him, and life returned to normal. One day, the husband came home from work just as the wife was coming home. It was her day off. "Where have you been?" he asked. "Just taking out the trash and staying home all day," she replied, avoiding looking him in the eye. Jordan walked into the living room and noticed a closet with a broken door. "It's about time we fixed it," he thought. Grabbing his tools, he set to work on the repair, so immersed in his work that he forgot about calling his coworker about a work-related issue. "Honey, what time is it?" he asked absent-mindedly. His wife was standing nearby watching him work, immersed in her own thoughts. She paid no attention to his question until he glanced at her. At the same instant, she checked for a clock on the wall, but found none. Sighing quietly, she looked at the opposite wall, surprising her husband with her reaction. She had become incredibly forgetful lately. It's amazing how she could forget where the clock is kept in our house, especially considering we've lived here for several years now. According to her, she spends so much time at home. Jordan began to suspect that something was wrong with his wife. He had a feeling that she was hiding something, but he couldn't figure out what it was. Could it be that she was going somewhere on her day off without telling him? The next day, Jordan decided to take the day off as well and returned home in the middle of the afternoon. To his surprise, his wife was not in the apartment, even though she had claimed that she had no intention of going out that day. Suddenly, Jordan was reminded of their young neighbor. Could he be involved in this strange behavior? He went to the neighbor's door and rang the doorbell. He waited for a few minutes, hearing movement inside, but no one opened the door. Walking up to the door, Jordan rang the bell a few more times, but no one seemed to be about to open. Frustrated, he pulled out his cell phone and called his wife. To his surprise, he heard her ringtone coming from inside the neighbor's apartment. Annoyed and determined, Jordan yelled out, "There's no use hiding, open up." The door finally swung open, and a disheveled and pale Dominique stood before him. Jordan pointed to one of the rooms and asked, "Is she in there?" Stepping cautiously inside. The layout of the apartment was the same as theirs, except for the location of the clock in the living room. It faced the opposite direction from the ones in their house. Eleanor seemed to have spent so much time in the student's apartment that she was used to this arrangement. Even at home, she confused the two places. Instead of making a scene with the unfaithful wife, Jordan simply found her sitting on the couch with her head bowed. She was so shocked by her husband's sudden return that she wore her t-shirt backwards. Jordan calmly informed her that after this incident their relationship ended and there would be no reconciliation. He told her to go to their apartment immediately and pack her things. Although she wanted to explain that she had nowhere to go, her husband's stern gaze held her back. Desperately hoping that her young lover would persuade her to stay with him, she met only a silent shake of her head. With tears in her eyes, Eleanor gathered her belongings, pondering her next steps. She had assumed that her affair with her neighbor would go unnoticed, but a small oversight had revealed the truth to her attentive husband. He immediately initiated divorce proceedings, and Eleanor had to flit between friends until she was able to rent a modest room in the shared living quarters. There was a bitter irony to the situation. She was now living among several male neighbors with whom she wanted nothing to do. She mourned the lost relationship with her ex-husband and the peaceful life they once shared. Wanting to turn back the clock, she realized that the consequences of her actions could no longer be undone.